Mr. President, there are 14 kids dead in an elementary school in Texas right now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Just days after a shooter walked into a grocery store to gun down African American patrons, we have another Sandy Hook on our hands. What are we doing? There have been more mass shootings than days in the year. Our kids are living in fear every single time they set foot in a classroom because they think they're going to be next. What are we doing? Why do you spend all this time running for the United States Senate? Why do you go through all the hassle of getting this job, of putting yourself in a position of authority, if your answer is that as this slaughter increases, as our kids run for their lives, we do nothing? What are we doing? Why are you here? If not to solve a problem as existential as this. This isn't inevitable. These kids weren't unlucky. This only happens in this country and nowhere else. Nowhere else do little kids go to school thinking that they might be shot that day. Nowhere else do parents have to talk to their kids, as I have had to do, about why they got locked into a bathroom and told to be quiet for 5 minutes just in case a bad man entered that building. Nowhere else does that happen except here in the United States of America, and it is a choice. It is our choice to let it continue. What are we doing? In Sandy Hook Elementary School, after those kids came back into those classrooms, they had to adopt a practice in which there would be a safe word that the kids would say if they started to get thoughts in their brain about what they saw that day. If they started to get nightmares during the day, reliving stepping over their classmates' bodies as they tried to flee the school. In one classroom, that word was monkey. And over and over and over through the day, kids would stand up and yell, "Monkey!" And a teacher or a paraprofessional would have to go over to that kid, take them out of the classroom, talk to them about what they had seen, work them through their issues. Sandy Hook will never, ever be the same. This community in Texas will never, ever be the same. Why? Why are we here? If not to try to make sure that fewer schools and fewer communities go through what Sandy Hook has gone through, what Uvalde is going through. Our heart is breaking for these families. Every ounce of love and thoughts and prayers we can send, we are sending. But I'm here on this floor to beg, to literally get down on my hands and knees and beg my colleagues. Find a path forward here. Work with us to find a way to pass laws that make this less likely. I understand my Republican colleagues will not agree to everything that I may support, but there is a common denominator that we can find. There is a place where we can achieve agreement that may not guarantee that America never, ever again sees a mass shooting, that may not overnight cut in half the number of murders that happen in America. It will not solve the problem of American violence by itself, but by doing something, we at least stop sending this quiet message of endorsement to these killers whose brains are breaking, who see the highest levels of government doing nothing, shooting after shooting. What are we doing? Why are we here? What are we doing?
This is Democratic Senator Chris Murphy amid the latest shooting, this time in Texas, where an 18-year-old killed 14 elementary school students plus a teacher. Elementary school students, reportedly between the ages of 7 and 10, little kids. It almost feels useless to have this perpetual debate because we see these mass shootings on a daily basis now. Only days ago, we were reeling after the shooting in Buffalo, where an avowed neo-Nazi killed 10 in a grocery store in Buffalo, New York. At what point do we look at what's happening in this country and realize that what we are doing is not working? Republicans will have you believe that the answer here is more guns. Well, we've got more guns. We've got almost 10 times as many guns as any other country on earth. We own 42% of the world's guns. We've got more guns than Americans. And yet, you know what else we have more of? Mass shootings. There's not only a link between guns and mass shootings, there's a straight line. There is direct causation. In any other industry in the world, if a business person proposed a strategy with results this horrific, they would be lucky to find a job in that industry again. And yet, when lawmakers and government officials see the consequences of pouring more and more and more and more guns onto the streets, they see shootings at churches and grocery stores and movie theaters and nightclubs and businesses and elementary schools. Somehow that's okay? Someone, please, I beg of you, explain to me how that makes sense. And for those people who think that even having this discussion is politicizing a tragedy, this tragedy is political. It has always been political. Republicans literally run on their ratings from the NRA in their political ads. The only reason that these shootings keep occurring on a monthly, weekly, daily basis is because gun manufacturers and the gun lobby tied guns directly to republicanism. Like, what's next? Should we not politicize tax policy? Should we not politicize healthcare? Notice how the people telling you not to politicize shootings immediately after they occur are the same people who spent every day before that politicizing guns and touting their NRA endorsements and eliminating background checks and doing away with permits to carry weapons. So I'm sorry, but when it comes to not politicizing gun violence, those people can fuck all the way off. The simple, painstakingly obvious fact is that we need to do something to stop the proliferation of these weapons of war onto our streets that have resulted in generations of Americans not knowing whether their trip to the supermarket will be their last, whether sending their kids to school will be a death sentence. Australia confiscated 650,000 guns and murders plummeted. Norway moved to ban semi-automatic weapons after a right-wing extremist, Anders Breivik, killed 69 people. New Zealand tightened their gun laws after a recent mass shooting. The UK did the same. When there are problems, reasonable people fix them. What we do in the United States isn't even in the universe of reasonable. We need our elected officials to do something. And if they won't, elect people who will. Elect people who care more about the survival of you and your children as opposed to their raiding with a fucking gun lobby. Elect people who offer more than thoughts and prayers when little kids, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, are slaughtered in elementary school. Stop giving people power who see these things happening on a daily basis and yet fight to maintain the status quo. I promise you, I swear to you, the culture wars about critical race theory and Christmas aren't worth leaving these people in power. We have a voice in what happens in this country. Please, please, please make sure you use it. To see more videos like this, click the subscribe button right here on this screen. And to support my work beyond that, check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I cover the week's most important stories and interview the biggest players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, and so many more. The link is also right here on this screen. And finally, to take action yourself and sign petitions on the most important issues, go to briantylercohen.com/petition.